Well, today is all about and around SAP's BPC and what you do as an alternative to that. So what are your alternatives moving forward? And what we'd like to do is introduce you to what Gartner consider to be the market leading product for them, as shown in their Magic Quadrant for FP&A. My name is Martin Hope. I'm the Global VP of Business Acceleration for Evosys, and I'm joined today by Aaron Sankara, who's a practice lead for our FP&A practice. Welcome, Aaron. What we'd like to do is just take you through, if I may, the agenda. So we're just going to talk a little bit about the current market and how I think that's affected the FP&A market solution. Lead into looking at the FP&A solution overview, and then by Aaron, and then we're going to move into a demonstration of its key capabilities. So a live demonstration for everybody. Now, whilst we go through this, I'm sure you're going to have questions. If you look on the webinar platform, you can see a place where you can actually type your questions. We've already had a couple from the start, which is brilliant, and thank you for those. I will be responding to those in the Q&A at the end of this. So if I may just ask you to put them in as we go, as you think of them, and Aaron and I will try and respond to as many of them as we can before the end of the session. It's quite important at this point to touch on the current market conditions, and I'm sure many people doing webinars such as this, but certainly for the FP&A market, I think it's got an impact. And the slide you can see in front of you is from McKinsey, who did a study of organizations both pre-pandemic and in pandemic. And this is a study that they've got of what they consider to be the 5 R's. And I'm sure we've all been affected by the pandemic and what it's done. For every Amazon who's grown enormously and benefited from it, there have been tens of thousands of companies that have suffered from it. What we really wanted to do was just talk about some of the impacts of those and what McKinsey have seen from that. So the first thing that they've seen is that organizations have coped differently in the pandemic. Some have really suffered, but others have taken that business step or hold to change their organization for the better. And some of the things that have come out of that have been really interesting. Often there now, what McKinsey have seen is that organizations in the upper quartile, so the 25% most successful and have coped best with the pandemic, have determined that they don't want to run projects, long, arduous projects any longer. Typically, they're seeing these organizations looking at projects between 3 and 6 months, typically, maybe 9 months, but often no longer. And they're expecting much shorter, quicker, higher ROI returns on those projects. And they're expecting very strong financial paybacks of those that they can count and measure. The most interesting thing from that is that McKinsey think this won't change post-pandemic. The organizations have seen it as a sort of a new wind of what they're looking at. Now, the effect of that on FP&A is interesting because many organizations have 3 to 5 year plans for their technology changes. What we've seen firsthand is that, that all this change that's happened affects FP&A dramatically. It means that you're doing many more simulations, analyses, the what ifs, and therefore it's imperative that an organization has a solution that can cope with that quickly, easily, and down at the user level. So we're going to talk about that today. And the last piece that McKinsey mentioned was that they've seen projects accelerate so quickly that those upper quartile businesses have been doing them 32 times faster than they had pre-pandemic. That is, the example that they give is a bank that would typically have taken 4.5 years to roll out a project, actually did that in about 4.5 weeks. And I know that we've all been affected by, work at home. We've all got PCs, but we've not realized what's happened in the background with all our technologists trying to get this right. So I mentioned that we're actually talking about what Gartner considered to be the leading FP&A solution. And if you look at here, you can see their magic quadrant on the top right-hand side, and you can see that that is actually Oracle's EPM solution. So what I'll do now, if I may, is I'll pass you over to Aaron to take you through an introduction to that, and then also a demonstration and answer any questions you've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Yeah, just before we get started with the demonstration, I quickly wanted to give you a brief overview of the FP&A suite. So basically, FP&A suite includes all the models or processes that we generally follow for doing financial planning and analysis. So on the right hand side right now, I've got a basically image that covers aligning your enterprise data, which means bringing all of your chart of accounts into sync from various systems, then being able to perform planning and budgeting, and proceeding to perform costing and consolidation. And then also reporting is a key aspect of the processes. So the application also covers reporting, and then it also assists with intelligent calculations and system calculated results. So basically, we're looking at a complete circle or cycle of processes, which includes your operations, IT, marketing, sales, HR, as well as finance. So you can treat EPM, or you can treat FP&A as a suite of products which brings together all of the various operations that you have in your business. On the left hand side, we've just listed some key points. The first one and the most important one is that it's basically an integrated and comprehensive cloud platform. What that means is that for all of these processes, you're not basically going to different applications, or setting up interfaces or creating some complex structures. It's an integrated solution, which means that all of these processes are under a single window, and you can access them quite seamlessly, and they can also interact amongst each other quite seamlessly. This basically covers all of the FP&A processes, and on top of that, the application provides in-depth functionalities which you can leverage to make your system as well as process quite smooth. The next one is the ability of deploying it in a modular fashion. By modular fashion, what we are trying to say is that you don't have to go with all of these processes in a single go. If you want to get started with FP&A, but want to move at your own pace, you can start with any of the applications. You can aim to go live with reporting first, or probably you can say that, okay, let's first do the planning and budgeting part, and then we'll focus on the rest of the processes. So you can always pick and choose which process you want to proceed with, rather than going with all in. The next point is leveraging configurable practice models. So basically, Oracle offers the best practice solutions pre-built in the application, and then it gives you the choice of deciding whether you want to proceed with any of them, or you want to take some of them and configure the rest of it, or basically replicate your current processes. So there is good amount of flexibility in terms of using these pre-built models, but yes, as they stand out of the box, they address a majority of the requirements. The last one is the most important aspect, which is, the application is completely data agnostic. What that means is that it can integrate with SAP application, yes. And on top of that, if you have any other applications for which, you want to set up an interface and send data for performing any of these activities, you can still do that. So SAP is an out-of-the-box adapter by which you can get data. But if you're using any other applications as well on top of SAP, from which you want data for your financial analysis, that can be set up as well. So that was just a quick introduction of the FP&A suite. I also wanted to give you a brief understanding of all of the products that are included. So rather than products, I would call them processes. So in terms of the processes, the first one is Oracle Planning. So you basically can perform your planning, budgeting, forecasting, and financial analysis using the Oracle Planning model. In this model, you'll be able to create your long-term budgets, short-term budgets, next year budget, and you'll also be able to forecast against them and monitor your budgets to make sure that you're always in line and not overspending. So that's what happens in Oracle Planning. The next one is Oracle Costing. So if we're trying to assess the cost of a specific service or a product that we offer as an organization, this is the application for it. It has got in-depth capabilities of calculating drivers, or coming up with activity-based costing, driver-based costings. Basically, you'll be able to arrive at a very accurate cost for the product or service that you offer. The next one is Oracle consolidation. So if you're an organization spread across multiple locations and we have, a very unique, not unique, let's say we have a very fragmented ownership structure where we have entities with minority interest, we have mergers, joint ventures, or let's say simply that, we operate in different currencies. For such an organization, Oracle consolidation is the best application which can give you consolidated financials, and you can always, close your financial consolidations within a couple of days because the application out of the box offers a very streamlined solution for that. Now, on the right-hand side, I've got account reconciliation. Account reconciliation basically has got two processes in it. The first one is the ability to, reconcile your accounts. For example, ledger with ledger, ledger with subledger, subledger accounts with subledger accounts. So all of the activities that you generally perform for period closure, for balancing out your accounts, you can always use account reconciliation for that. It can automatically reconcile these accounts, and it will give you the ability of identifying thresholds. So if you say that, if anything is off by, let's say, 50 pounds or $50,000 or any amount, it will basically keep such transactions or such account balances aside and point them out to you so that you're able to easily check them and see what's going wrong. It does a similar process of that sort for transactions as well. So for example, if you want to match transactions from two different sites, account reconciliation would also help you with that. So it will automatically reconcile transactions, and based on the thresholds you set up, it will identify the outliers and point them out to you. The next one is narrative reporting. So narrative reporting is basically an application that will fetch data from multiple sources and enable you to perform narrative-based reporting. So when I say narrative-based reporting, let's imagine an investor relation document where we've listed out our company's goals or future plans along with giving information on our financials. The whole document can be prepared using narrative reporting. You wouldn't have to use multiple applications. You can simply use narrative reporting and prepare a document that includes both narrative as well as financials. The next one is enterprise data management. So enterprise data management would help you in bringing across all of your chart of accounts in sync. So for example, you may be having legacy applications or new applications, cloud-based applications, but there can be a chance that your chart of accounts are all over the place and they're not structured, and it's quite difficult to maintain a single source of truth. In such a situation, you can always use or rely on enterprise data management, and it'll help you in streamlining all of your chart of account needs. The last process in the FP&A suite is tax reporting. So tax reporting basically allows you to calculate all of your tax along with VAT calculations and supports various financial standards. And on top of it, it'll also help you in reporting about your tax structures or payments of tax for that financial year. The best part about tax reporting is that it also allows you to export data in XBRL format. So if there's any requirement of data security where you want to export data in XBRL formats, then tax reporting can surely help you with that. I hope this gave you a good introduction to the various processes that are included. Before we get on to the demonstration of the solution, I also quickly wanted to summarize how integration would work between SAP and Oracle FP&A suite, which is also called as EPM. And therefore, I was referring it to as EPM a couple of slides ago. Now, in terms of the integration, as I mentioned before, Oracle FP&A is basically a data agnostic application, which means that it can integrate with any source to extract data. So on the very left-hand side of the slide, you'll see that I've listed down various sources. It includes Oracle databases or any other database or data warehouse or any other systems or Excel files as well. Plus, if you're using Oracle EPM anywhere, it can also integrate with that. In the middle layer, we have got various applications. On the top, you'll see EPM Integration Agent. So EPM Integration Agent is an out-of-the-box application, which basically has got strong capabilities of integrating with any database. So it can use SQL scripts to connect with your databases and export and also transform the required data and then push them into Oracle Cloud. If you're using file-based interfaces, then there is also the capability of drill through, which means that, when you're looking at that amount in the application, if you wish to go down to the transaction or, look at the details of that in the file that was sent, you can always drill back to the file. And the same happens with, any of the other Oracle applications if you have them. Not just that, Oracle EPM also has got capabilities of integrating with any ERP cloud application, which means that, if you have a cloud application for your transaction keeping, Oracle EPM can integrate with that quite seamlessly. You wouldn't have to, basically create a lot of export files or maintain a warehouse and things like that, it can connect with multiple cloud applications as well. So that's the overall high level structure of how interfaces work. You surely may have questions about in detail. You may want to know how these integrations are set up, how much time it takes. For that, you can always raise questions with us, and we'll try our best to address them within the same webinar, or probably we'll get back to you separately. With that said, I also wanted to just bring up the fact that Oracle EPM applications are considered as the top in the market. So if you look at the Gartner Magic Quadrant on the left hand side, Oracle comes at the top, and it's considered as a leader in terms of Oracle financial planning and in terms of financial planning and analysis solutions. So right at the top, it's there. It's purely because of the fact that the product gets evolved every month. There are monthly updates. It keeps on adding more features every month by taking feedback from all of the existing customers, and that's the reason it stands top at that Magic Quadrant. Now, with respect to that, I would now like to quickly take you to the demonstration of the solution. Just bear with me for a second while I start sharing my screen. Just a second. Yep, sorry for that. Yeah, I believe now you're able to see my screen. Just before I proceed, someone from Evosys, can you confirm that my application screen is up?
Yes, I can see it, Aaron.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Martin. Yeah, so basically this is how the Oracle FP&A application looks like. The background color and all of the logos such as Oracle over here, they're all personalized. So which means that you can have something custom of your own choice. You can have your company logo over here. You can have a background of your choice. So it's a good amount of personalization which have been made available in the application. On the left hand side over here, I'm looking at my name, so you can also upload your picture and it'll bring up your picture as well when you log in. This over here is basically announcements. So you can always set up various announcements in the application. For today, I've just mentioned welcome to the demonstration of Oracle EPM. I'm again sorry for using that term, it's FP&A. But yes, you can have multiple announcements. So if you have multiple announcements, you can press on this button and it'll show you the announcements that are there. So for example, you can also put out dates to say that we are going to complete a certain process by a certain day, so that the users are aware that they've got responsibility or tasks that they have to address. Now, you'll always be wondering that with these applications it's generally difficult to navigate. That's not the case with Oracle FP&A. What happens is that whenever you're accessing something, you're bound to get distracted from it. So for example, you may be working on something, but then you have to leave it midway and then focus on something else and then get back to this. In situations like this, the recent section is always helpful. So the recent section basically captures everything that you've accessed recently, with the most recent one right at the top. So for example, if you were working on driver-based revenue planning, but you had to leave it midway, you can always come back, log in, and go to the recent section, and you'll simply find that screen at the top. And once you press on it, it will directly take you there. While explaining that, what I've also done is I've quickly marked some of them as favorites. I've just pressed on the star button. What that does is it basically puts them in the favorite section. So whenever you log in, you'll always be able to go to those sections quite seamlessly. You wouldn't have to remember the navigation path. You wouldn't have to do a few more clicks. Simply log in, go to favorites, and they're there. Now, with that said, on the right-hand side, you're able to see a lot of icons right now. Now, that is because I've logged in as an admin. However, imagine that you as a user are only looking after financial planning and you don't do anything which is related to projects planning or capital planning or workforce. In that case, you'll only be looking at this icon of financial and all the other icons won't be visible. What these icons are is basically they are processes within the same application as well. So for example, when I press on financials, it's going to bring up all of the processes which are included as a part of the financial analysis. The same happens for projects and the same would happen for all of the other. Now, this overall application that is on my screen right now, it's for Oracle planning, which means that it performs your planning and budgeting, in terms of forecasting and stuff like that. But as I explained in my slides, it's an integrated application, which means that, if you want to seamlessly navigate to any of the other processes, you'll always be able to do that. So for example, when I press on that button, it shows my connections and it shows all of the other applications that are connected to my processes. So for example, if you want to perform account reconciliation, you can always go to that from here. The same goes for costing, profitability, and all the other applications, which I explained a little bit ago. So you'll always be able to navigate from one place to another, and they're all integrated. They interact with each other. They send data to each other. So you're not looking at running a process and then waiting a while for that to populate results in your different process. They're all integrated, so it's all happening seamlessly. Now, with that said, basically, I also quickly wanted to show you a couple of screens in terms of how the look and feel of the application is, and how easy it is to interact with it. So, for example, let's go to financials. What happens is that the application has got strong dashboards and infinite capabilities. So, what I have on my screen right now is dashboard. So it's basically at the beginning of the process showing me all of the key information that I should be looking at. For example, what's the total revenue forecast, year-on-year change percentage of revenue, any gross profit forecast for the remainder of the year, and things like that. It'll also show me cost of sale by various departments, my total revenue, revenue by categorizing them, and also the revenue trend by comparing it with actual forecast and plan. So there are multiple dashboards that can be created, and it's very easy to build them, which means that you as a finance user or as an IT user, you'll always be able to create them yourselves with a little bit of training from our side. These are not complicated, doesn't need any sort of technical knowledge or understanding of a specific scripting knowledge. You can always build them using all of the out of the box features of the application. At the bottom, you'll see there are multiple tabs. So this dashboards were specifically for revenue. Now I've pressed on expense, so it's showing you dashboards for expense. You'll always be able to toggle between various years, different entities. Also, you have capability of creating multiple versions of the information. So you'll always be able to change versions as well. But yes, you have capabilities of creating multiple dashboards and reviewing them all in one go. Also, the dashboards basically are getting populated based on the results that the system calculates by taking inputs from you. So over here, I quickly wanted to show you one of the screens where you can enter data. This is nothing but a driver screen where I've listed down various drivers associated to my process or that specific entity. And then against that, I'm just requesting for increase or decrease percentage as to see if inflation has had any impact on a certain driver, or if I want to do any numeric adjustments. In terms of entering data in the application, it's very straightforward. You can press on any of these icons, and you can enter an amount of your choice, and that's it. Press on the save button, and the system does the rest. It calculates the results for you. You would have seen how fast that was. But yes, basically it gives you the capability of entering amounts, and then it automatically splits them into the available quarters. It will not do adjustments in the quarters that have been completed. So it's smart enough to understand that which periods are open and where I have to make those changes. Not just that, it also gives you the capability of auditing and storing attachments and comments. For example, if I want to see who entered that 1,000, I'll always be able to go to change history, and I'll see that it was myself on this date and time, and that's the old value and that's the new value. Please ignore the time. It's a little messed up because I have not set up the time correctly for my demo environment. But yes, you'll always be able to see all of the changes that a person has done. Not just myself. If someone else comes in and makes a change to that number, it'll also store that. I quickly wanted to change the number to show you that it maintains a reference of each of the changes. So it will not just have the most recent change. It will keep a track of all of the changes. So when it says hash missing, it says that there was no value before, and I changed it to 1,000. And just now I again changed it to 1,001 from 1,000. So it's basically capturing all of the records, and you can also export it. So at any point in time, you'll always be able to know who's made those changes on what date and time. On top of that, Oracle also allows you to add attachments, which means that if you want to add a specific Word document, Excel file, an email or a conversation, or simply a snapshot to your amount so that you're able to justify that, you'll always be able to do that. So you can add attachments, and you'll also be able to add comments to different cells. So you'll always be able to put in some note to say that, okay, this is the reason I've put in that amount, or anything else. But yes, the system has got a wide range of capabilities in terms of how you interact with it, and how you provide information to it, and it's very simplistic. So even if you want to enter an amount and then spread it at your own choice, you'll always be able to enter the amount and then go to adjust, and then you have various options on how you want to spread that amount, whether you want to do a proportionate spread, even split, or you simply want to populate the amount in all of the cells. So there's a lot that happens in the application. However, yeah, I think today is not the right day, or we don't have enough time for that. But yeah, we'll be more than happy to do a more detailed solution or a proof of concept if you're interested in having that. But yes, that's how you interact with the web application. There are other icons as well. But before that, I wanted to quickly also show you a little bit about SmartView. So now, whatever we have done over here right now is happening on cloud. We're interacting with the application via a browser. I'm able to enter information, add attachments. So all of these things are great. But Oracle understands that FP&A predominantly has been an Excel-based exercise where organizations have prepared their budgets or plans in Excel for years and years. For those reasons, what Oracle also provides with its FP&A application is this plugin called SmartView. So what SmartView does is it's basically a plugin that gets attached to your MS Office applications, such as your Excel, your Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, and all these applications. The reason it does that is so that you're able to use and also create reports at your own will. Now, just to save time, what I had done is I had gone to SmartView, logged into the application. So I've just connected the SmartView plugin to the web application we are using, and I can access all of the forms and screens from here. Now, when I do that, what also happens is that I get the ability to play with the data. So, for example, these numbers, now I can enter them from Excel. And again, it will always, make a note of those changes as well. So the audit capabilities I showed you online, they still are there. Nothing changes on that. But yes, you can make changes to the numbers. You can access those grids from Excel, just so that you have that ease of using Excel while doing these activities. Now, these changes are live, which means that whenever you're making those changes, they happen straight away on the web application. You don't have to run any processes. It's basically that you use the SmartView plugin to access the web application, but through MS Office applications. That's the only difference. And on top of that, there are some strong, slice and dice capabilities of the application. For example, this grid that I'm looking at right now, I don't want to look at the months. I simply want to look at the quarters. You'll always be able to do that. So in the plugin, you also get capability of analyze. And when I press on that, the form, you'll see that it basically has created a new tab for me. And now it's giving me the ability to play with the columns. So if you look at sheet one, it's still there. But yeah, now another sheet has opened up where I have the ability of playing with the structure. I can bring the location onto the rows, or probably years onto the rows, or any which way. Now, as I mentioned, what if I only want to have quarters and not just the months? It's quite simple. I can just go to year total. I can press on keep only. What would happen is that will be the only column that will remain on my screen now. Once I double click on it, it will bring all of the quarters for me. Now, let's say while creating a report, you don't want quarter three, you just want quarter four, and you want to review the information in that way. But yeah, let's say after a couple of minutes, you've changed your mind, but now you want Q4. You can always get now you want Q3. You'll always be able to bring that up. You simply have to, enter Q3 and hit refresh, and the system would bring that up. Don't be worried about the structure that, it's now coming after Q4. It's again simple. You can simply move it. And it's as simple as that. You just change the structure, hit refresh, and you're still connected with the grid. It happens on both rows and columns. So, for example, I just did that with quarters. If you want to bring across, let's say, Jan and March, because you want to compare that with the quarters as well as year total, you can simply hit refresh after entering those months, and the system will bring across the data for you. It does exactly the same on rows as well. So, for example, I removed gross profit, but now I've changed my mind. I want that again. So I simply have to, press on basically enter gross profit and refresh, and the system will bring across the data against all of the columns. So it's quite fluid in that nature that it allows you to perform slice and dice of data, and you can create a grid of your own choice. For example, if you want to compare year total Q1 and Jan and March, you can do that, or you can remove any of these specific accounts and create a grid of your own choice. And on top of that, basically SmartView also is allowing you to use all of your Excel options. So for example, if I want to use this grid and I want to create a chart, I can always do that. I simply have to use all of the Excel features, and my chart is ready. So you'll have the ability of creating a grid of your own choice, and then create a report out of it. And not just that, these reports, as I mentioned, SmartView gets connected to all of your MS Office applications, which means Word, PowerPoint, as well as Outlook. So just to give you an example, let's say I want to take this report to Word. So what I can do is I've already selected it. In SmartView, I'll just press on this copy button. Now what I'll do is I'll quickly open up a Word document, and on the Word document, I'll again go to SmartView and hit on the paste button. So what I've done is on Excel, I created a grid by being connected to the web application, and then that grid suited me the best. And I thought that, okay, now I should be able to use this in a Word document, or let's say in a PowerPoint. So I've just copied that grid and I've pasted it in a Word document. Since I've just pasted it, it will ask me to refresh, but as soon as I refresh, it will bring across the data from my Excel grid onto the Word document. So what effectively happens is that it gives you the ability of playing with the structures, creating a grid of your own choice, performing slice and dice so that you're able to analyze the results, and then you'll always be able to use them on multiple applications. So imagine this table that I've just created. What if you have to create that table every month, and it's quite a tedious task to do those formatting and putting together that information, and you have to send it out via an Outlook email or a Word document. You can always follow the process that I've just done, and the next time the data gets updated and you have to recreate that report or table, you simply have to open the same document or email, go to SmartView and hit refresh. Since you've used SmartView to copy and paste, the table is still connected with the application. So when you come to SmartView and hit refresh, it gets connected to the web application and brings the most latest results. And that's one of the most appreciated feature that a lot of our customers have. Basically they've gone bonkers, if I can use that word, and they've really liked it. And yeah, that's really solved a lot of problems for them as well. So that was a quick demonstration that we wanted to do for Oracle FP&A. I hope I've been able to show you some of the good features. And as I said, we're more than happy to do another detailed session where we're covering a lot of other aspects of the application. With that said, I'll take you back to the slide deck that we were covering. Just a second. Yeah. Before I hand it back to Martin, just a couple of things from my side. The first one is that whatever we've seen today, I quickly wanted to summarize some of the additional points around that. So the first one is automatic monthly updates. I had briefly mentioned about it when I started presenting that Oracle FP&A applications get upgraded every month. So every month the application gets updated, and updates are basically Oracle adding new features to it. So you're looking at new features coming in every month, and then it's up to you whether you want to use them or you probably want to keep them off for future. But yes, you're looking at a very evolved solution which keeps on giving, and these updates are not looking at you paying every month. So basically that's an update that's a part of the product, so you don't have to pay for these updates or upgrades. They basically happen every month automatically. The second is consistent growth of feature set. So you would definitely be looking at a product, or you'd be wanting a product which keeps evolving with the market needs. You wouldn't want a product that's legacy and is doing good or was doing great at a certain point in time, but now it's become old, or it's not offering the same capabilities as they are available in the market. You would never face that with Oracle FP&A because, as I said, the monthly updates. So every time you're looking at Oracle evolving the product, adding more features, making it stronger, and also bringing in line with the current market needs. So other customers who are requesting for things, they get added to the product, and then you get the flexibility and choice of whether you want to use it or not, or whether that benefits you or not. The third one is start implementation sooner. So as I said, you don't have to implement all of these FP&A applications in one go. You can decide that we want to do Oracle planning and proceed with that. The implementation timelines are quite they're quite low. So basically, on an average, it takes about 14 to 20 weeks for implementing, a planning solution. So every process that I explained has got a very short implementation duration. And yeah, that can be discussed in detail as well if you want to increase that because you have complicated processes. But the fact is that you're not looking at a very long implementation journey where you're spending a year or more for transforming your processes. The fourth one is easy migration across environments. So in terms of migrations, unlike the legacy products or legacy world of non-cloud applications, it's not a big deal of moving Oracle FP&A solutions from one environment to another. It's as simple as moving one file from one folder to another within your machine. And I'm not joking. It's really as simple as that. You can move solutions from one environment to another with a click of a few buttons or a few functions, and Oracle processes automatically do them behind the scenes as well. So it's very easy to move solutions from one environment to another. The fifth benefit, you may have heard that from a lot of cloud providers, that you can access it from anywhere. So basically, the smart view functionalities or Excel-based functions that I mentioned. Sorry, I was saying that our solutions can be accessed from anywhere. Oracle FP&A processes are cloud-based, so there's no limitation. Yeah, you can have whitelisting, or basically you can set up restrictions for access, but yes, you can always access them from anywhere where it is permissible to access. The sixth one is highly secure environment, and I can vouch for that, having implemented solutions across central government as well as public sector government organizations across the globe. So Evosys, as an organization, we have delivered a lot of government-based solutions as well. So because of that, you would always understand that sometimes central government, they have got very strict conditions for secure environment, and Oracle has provided that. And we've also worked with bigger financial services organizations as well, where the needs are manifold. So yes, the environments are also highly secure. So that was, basically my part with respect to the presentation and demonstration of Oracle FP&A solution. I'll now hand it back to Martin. Martin, can you take on from here?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Aaron. Very good. Great presentation. Thank you. And it's elicited a number of questions for us as well. So what I wanted to do just on this slide was just to say, the product is great. It works really well. Gartner see it as a market-leading product in FP&A. I just wanted to put this slide up for you just to say that's great, but who can implement it for us? And this is just an outline of Evosys' skill, capability, and background. So we have just over 1,200 customers worldwide. A lot of those have implemented this FP&A solution. They're all on Oracle Fusion Cloud. So, we're not looking to actually include other products and things. We've got over 1,570 people. We are hiring, and we have hired all the way through the pandemic. It's been very, very busy. We have references in multiple verticals running the same solution, and we are an award-winning business. So with that, if I may, move on to the questions. So and there are a couple of questions that have come in. So if I could just, I've got them here. So if I just ask you a couple of the questions, Aaron, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So the first one is, we currently use SAP BPC, and it integrates data from multiple places, including some cloud-based solutions and also some on-prem solutions. I'm assuming that's probably ECC or something like that, which is on-prem or private cloud. Is it possible to do this with Oracle's FP&A solution?
Got it. Yeah, it's absolutely possible. So if you would have seen the integration slide that I had shown, basically Oracle FP&A would also give you the same capabilities where you can integrate data from both SAP as well as other external applications. So you can have a seamless integration that brings across the data from those specific applications. And also, if there are any data transformation needs, the Oracle EPM integration agent that I mentioned would also be able to address that. So the answer is yes, you'll always be able to do that.
Fantastic. And another question that came up said, you mentioned a connector for SAP. Are there other standard connectors for other products as well?
Yeah, surely. So Oracle FP&A has got a list of connectors which allows you to connect with multiple applications, and yes, Oracle gives those out of the box. So yes, along with SAP, there are other applications as well with which you can connect out of the box.
Fantastic. Next question is, I think this came from a comment you made about data. So it says, do all the mentioned applications pass data to each other? If yes, then how is it done and at what frequency?
Got it. Yeah, so all of the applications are hosted on the same set of product suite, which is Oracle FP&A. Because of that, what happens is that they are connected to each other, so they can share chart of accounts, or they can share those segments and dimensionalities. Because of that, what happens is that each of the application is sending data without having to set up a lot of configuration or interfaces. In terms of frequency, it's completely up to your choice. So basically, there is no limitation that you can only send data once a day or once a month. It basically can send data multiple times in a day or in an hour, depending upon your business needs. But the way the connections work is that they're all part of the same Oracle product suite. because of that, their technical architecture from the back end is similar, and that's how they interact with each other seamlessly.
And I noticed that you pulled data across when you needed it as well, just before in the presentation, which I think is probably an ancillary question to that.
Yeah, correct.
Absolutely. Okay. And final question. Can finance manage Oracle FP&A application by themselves, or would we need the support from product experts?
Got it. So in terms of implementing the product, yes, you would need the product experts, but yeah, in terms of maintaining it, absolutely, the finance teams can take over the role. So we have seen this happening with a lot of our existing customers, that finance team or finance directors have their own teams, and they're maintaining and managing these applications. It's a very easy application to manage. As I said, the reportings that I showed you, it doesn't need any scripting knowledge to put those reports together either. So yeah, finance team can absolutely and independently manage the system. They don't have to have a lot of technical knowledge for doing that.
Okay, well, Aaron, on behalf of the audience, I'd like to thank you for the presentation and demo. And I think everyone can see the contact details for myself and Aaron on the screen here. There's also a QR code if you'd like to know more about Evosys. I would just like to thank everybody for their time. I think we're about 1 minute under the time that we said. So I hope you have a great day, and thank you very much for your time.